Hey guys, welcome back to DIYHEMI, and today we're going to talk about something that's been sort of taboo until now, and that is security key interface module or immobilizer module, however you want to say it. It's Skim, right? And how to remove security from your NGC ECM. Up until now, not many people have really talked about it or communicated how it's done and what needs to take place to run a factory ECU or ECM on a Hemi swap. We're going to show you how to do that today and how easy it can be. Now, a caveat here is this is not the end-all be-all. Just deleting Skim will get your vehicle running, but it probably won't be optimal. So we definitely recommend sending it off to professional and having them do a full standalone tune on your ECM and getting it really dialed in for your application. But what we're going to show you here gives you the keys to the kingdom. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay, so what we have here is our test mule, and you can see we have a previously tuned ECU on the firewall there. That's the one we run every day. It's been calibrated for this specific setup, and this is a 2008 Charger RT ECM. So this is just a standard off-the-shelf ECM. We already went ahead and scanned it on the bench to make sure that's exactly what it was. You notice that it is from the LX platform because there are no pins in the transmission connector here. It's just something to look out for when you're out in the field and when you're trying to dig through a pile of ECMs and figure out what's what. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just disconnect this ECM. I'm going to place this here just for now. Get this connected, and this ECM is not tuned, so this is standard. We only ran it on our bench device to get the calibration ID, figure out what it was, what it came out of, to know where we're started. So all of the cars, say 05 and up, and trucks starting 06 and up, have security key integrated into the ECM, right? So they're going to have these exact characteristics, and we want to show you what to look for to determine if something has Skim. So we went ahead and just plugged this ECM straight in. We're going to go fire it up so you can see what happens when you try to fire up a Hemi swap that has a Skim locked ECM.
Ready. Nothing. Jump.
Two things that happen. When you have a setup like this, it'll either do just as what we saw, it won't crank at all, or you'll get a split-second run. It'll take 1 second maybe, or 2 seconds. The engine will fire off, rum, 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 and then die. And then after that, sequentially, as long as it's plugged in, you'll see just what you saw here. The engine will not run, okay? So what we're gonna do is take this to the bench, remove the Skim or deactivate the Skim, and show you how that works. Okay, so here we are at the tuning bench, and we're going to show you exactly how this all works. So we have our NGC ECM, and we have our bench tuning device over here. This is something we made from scratch back when Radio Shack really existed, so that's not a thing anymore, but you can find all these components online. It simply consists of a C1 NGC connector, so all the communications and power, everything you need to tune an ECM really comes from only the C1, which is the black colored connector on the ECM. So you need this guy. CAN bus ECMs will need a star connector or a terminating resistor block. That's all this is. It's a series of resistors in here that allows communications. A project box with a 12-volt relay inside, just like on a car, backed up by some fuses. I have 25 amp fuses here. An OBD port on the back, and then we have an in-style port here that comes off of simply a voltage inverter. So it converts from 110 volts or 120 volts outlet power, say at your house, down to 12 volts DC. So it outputs basically what a car typically has on it. So that's how we get 12 volts here and into the ECM. All we have to do is plug this guy in, and then this toggle switch acts like a key on switch. We turn the key on. Now, the software we use is HP Tuners, and many people have said in the past, oh, you can't do a skim delete with HP Tuners, it doesn't work. Well, that's because you're not doing it right. And that's kind of blunt, but it's the truth. It absolutely can be done. We've spoken with HP Tuners over this for many years, and we're actually part of the development and feedback loop that they were undergoing when they tested this some years ago. So around 2016, my direct contacts there were working with us, and we tested a series or a specific way of doing things that works. And we're going to show you that here today. First thing we need to do is buy credits. So with HP Tuners, you have to pay for every vehicle that you tune by the VIN number, by the license. So this particular ECM is set up for a specific car that left the factory. It has the VIN number embedded into the software. What we're going to do is log on to HP Tuners, buy the credits needed, and then go into the HP Tuners software, and that'll give us everything we need to do. So we'll go ahead and log in. We're already in our accounts, and we're going to go down to products, and you can buy credits. So here we are. MPVI is the one we use. This is our HP Tuners user interface, or MPVI. It's a tuning device. On one side is USB, the other side is the OBD cable. I'm going to go ahead and buy our credits. And we want Dodge. Each ECM takes 2 credits, so don't buy just one, you have to buy 2 credits to tune a computer. Once you buy the credits and you use those licensed credits for this ECM, you can go back and calibrate it as many times as you want for the life of this ECM. So the credit does not expire, it doesn't go away, there's nothing that you have to worry about. You can change this as many times as you want. This whole system, the HP Tuners setup, is I think $500, and it comes with 6 credits to do 3 vehicles. And then this project here costs maybe about 30 bucks to build. Not a big deal. So we're going to head and add this to the cart. Well, now that you've purchased the credits, there's 2 ways you'll have to get your license code. And your license code can either be found under your dashboard, which is you go to your account here, you go to your devices, you could find what the code is that you need to paste into your program, or it'll come to you via email. So usually email is what we wait for to know that everything is going through. If you don't get the email, just go to your dashboard on the website. It'll be posted there in real time. Now, to upload your credits, we're going to go here to Help. And you'll see MPVI applications and MPVI2. Now, they no longer sell the MPVI, which is the device we have, but many tuners really prefer the older MPVI because it's a hardwired connection that seldom ever goes out. The MPVI2, well, that's a Bluetooth, more modern version. It has its pros and cons, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to stick with MPVI. You go to the application keys, and now you're going to paste in the code that you just received in buying your credits. All right. So now the code has been updated and we are ready to license this ECM for calibration. So what I'll do is show you exactly what we're looking at when it comes to Skim delete. We're now prepared to fully go into this ECM. What I've done is gone into the program and hit the green read vehicle button on the toolbar. What you do is you'll click read and it will download all of the factory calibrations off this ECM. So that way you can look into it, modify it as you see fit. I've already done this. The process takes about 4 minutes for your initial read, and subsequent reads after that, it'll be like a minute. You know, it really will be pretty quick once you've read it that first time. I've already done this, and for the sake of the video, we're just gonna go ahead and open the file that I've already saved. So we'll go here, and it is saved here as 2008 Charger RT57 base. And that's the base file. And you'll see on the toolbar, we have many different things that we can look into, parameters that we can change. You know, here in the engine section, anything from idle tables, airflow, exhaust, a lot of stuff that you can go in and modify for your standalone setup. But that's not really the purpose of this video. We're more interested in Skim. Skim is located underneath the Systems tab. Within the Systems tab, you'll see a security section under General, and there are 2 fields related to Skim. There's just plain Skim, and there's Skim Capable. Skim Capable is simply allowing the ECM to look for Skim modules on the network. So if this ECM were plugged into a modern Mopar, it would know almost instantaneously when you turn the key that, hey, there's a Skim module around the ignition cylinder, and we need to look for a PIN number or either lock itself to that Skim module. Just kind of depends on what state the ECM is in. If it's in a learning mode, it's going to lock onto it. If it's not in a learning mode, it's just something out of a salvage yard or something you've gotten off of line, it's going to show a conflict and it won't allow the vehicle to run. I mean, that's the whole purpose of Skim back in the day, is to prevent theft. And they don't want people just throwing ECMs in the cars and using random keys to crank them off and drive off. So that's what Skim Capable means. It means that the ECM is capable of recognizing the module in the network and using that to make some sort of a decision, a protocol. Skim itself, that's kind of the opposite of that. It's just, hey, is the Skim enabled or disabled currently? A lot of times when you open up this tune, you'll see enabled here and disabled here. Really, as far as this is concerned, it's irrelevant because this doesn't have that much of an impact, believe it or not. You can leave both of these as is. You can place them both as disabled. It doesn't really matter. A lot of times what we'll do is you can do disabled. It's not really a big deal. Another thing we need to look at while we're in this setting is the starter relay. Starter relay is all about the ECM's vision or ability to see whether or not you're trying to crank the vehicle. So in base settings, what it's looking for is a signal that says we're cranking the car. So a key in the start position will send a signal to the ECM. The ECM will ground the starter relay, causing the starter to engage and turn the car over. If this is enabled, you have to do that. You have to tie the starter signal to the key switch or else the vehicle won't run because the ECM needs to know that it's trying to start. If you disable this feature, then you can run a standalone starter, which means you could run the original starter relay on the inner fender of an old school Mopar. It's really up to you. We program it either way, just depending on the customer's needs. A lot of customers run their original starter because a small block starter typically bolts on the Hemi. It just depends on the size. And they like to keep their original starter and ignition system, all that. It makes it easier on them. For that case, we go ahead and disable. The case of the CUDA, we do everything through the ECM. We just think it runs a little bit better that way. It just makes things simplistic, so we leave it enabled. Okay, now here's where the magic happens. You really have to do a two-step process to deactivate the security key. If you do not do this, if you only did just what we talked about and disabled these two tabs, you have not successfully deactivated Skim. You have not done anything yet. And that's why many people say HP Tuners is not capable of deactivating Skim. And why am I using the word or the phrase deactivate? Well, it never really goes away. You're just making it dormant. What you're really doing is you're putting the ECM in learning mode. So think of maybe a Skim module replacement or a key replacement. At the dealer, what they'll do is they'll wipe out the ECM's memory of the Skim, and as soon as it's plugged into the car and it detects that Skim module, it's going to coordinate and reactivate. What we're saying is we want Skim to be in learn mode, but then there's no Skim module to wake it up, so it's quote unquote deactivated. It's not really gone, it's not deleted, it's just not part of the function. It's not part of the protocol to start up.
So if it's in learn mode, right, and then you put it in a car that has, you know, the Skim decoder ring and all that on there,
right,
will it learn that car and actually stay with that car, or would it actually shut down and
right? So that's a perfect question. So many times we've seen people put these wiped ECMs into, say, a modern car and try to start, and it's a multi-step process. You typically have to make sure that the Skim module and the ECM have the same VIN number written to them. So you have to rewrite the VIN number, make sure that everything matches to use it. If you were to take this ECM with the Skim disabled and plug it into, say, a 2008 Charger, just like it came out of, as soon as it recognizes that key module that's installed in the car, it is going to reactivate itself and you will be locked out. In most cases, you won't be able to start the car. And if you pull that ECM right back out and go put it in your Hemi swap car that doesn't have that module, well, congratulations, Skim is reactivated. You have to do this process all over again. So once you wake Skim up in the ECM, which is why I say it's never deleted, it never goes away. Once you wake it up, you have to go through the deletion or disable process all over again.
So it won't learn the new
to an effect, it'll learn
number.
Partially. It knows there's a Skim module in the network that it needs to sync up with, it'll communicate with, but there's usually a 4-digit PIN and a VIN verification that you have to go through. So you have to make the VIN number match in the module as well as the ECM.
Gotcha. So the ECM is only one part of that.
ECM is only one part of that component, or that network. Okay. Here we go. We've already purchased the credits, as you'll see, so we're going to go ahead and write the vehicle, which is that button right there with the red arrow. And you'll see what immediately pops up is you have to expend a license to commit to tuning this vehicle. We'll show our options, and as you can see, we have a license or 2 licenses available, right? 2 credits, 1 license, 1 ECM. We're going to choose that and hit OK. It asks you, are you sure? Because they absolutely will not give you your money back if you mess up. So make sure this is the ECM you want to tune, and go ahead and click yes, and it lets you in. So what you do, first step, is you always write the entire calibration. So any changes you've made in any of the tables above, you write the basic calibration. It'll go through the process, which may take a few minutes, but it's usually not that bad. Here you can see a lot of the cool stuff, right? You can see the original VIN number of the vehicle. It also shows you in an earlier window, you know, what the make, model, all that good stuff is. Okay, so it says here, the write has completed. Please cycle the engine. We're gonna turn the quote-unquote key on, key off. All right, so we've cycled it. You're still not Skim disabled. You have to do one more step. This is the key step, guys. Drop down this box and click Skim Disable for Retrofit. This is essentially wiping out or disabling Skim. It's not deleting it. It's just putting it in that reset mode, and write it one more time. So now you're writing it in Skim Disable for Retrofit.
What was that box before?
Before it said write entire or write calibration.
Gotcha.
All right, so we just did the Skim disable for retrofit. We can go ahead and close it, turn it off, and go give it a shot. Let's see if she'll crank up.
All right, this is exciting.
Let's see what you got, man.
Let's roll. Fingers crossed. See if this guy knows what he's talking about. I don't think this is Blake's first rodeo. How confident are you, Blake? Honestly. I know we're doing a video, so usually that adds in some negativity factor.
Look, it's always a little bit more difficult when you're being watched. Let's see what we got here. I'll go ahead and prime the fuel system and we'll see if she'll fire up.
Fingers crossed, everybody. Come on. Uh-oh.
That didn't work. Let's go see what's going on.
Happens sometimes, guys.
Happens sometimes. See, it's because we're being watched, you guys.
By millions of people.
Millions. Let's go give it one more shot. That's the beauty about this, is we test everything before we send it out.
Exactly. And we're learning every day, guys.
Learning every day. We do hundreds of these or dozens of these.
I know.
And every time it might be something different. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna put this back as enabled. Let's see if that makes a difference. It shouldn't, but we'll check it out.
Which one is that?
Skim capable. We went ahead and put it to where it's enabled to find a Skim on the network. Let's just see if that makes a difference for this specific one.
Gotcha.
All right. Typically it doesn't, but let's give it a shot. We'll do it all. All right, so that completely backfired. This is an 08 ECM, so a couple more things we could probably look at. Not excited, right? Because we want everybody to see how easy this is, and it's like you get the one curveball in the middle of the video. It sucks.
So we're human.
Yeah, we're human, right? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. And I'm going to explain why I'm doing it. We're going to go back into the Systems tab. And, you know, we went ahead and set all this stuff up. I'm going to go over to the Communications tab. I'm going to show you something. With the advent of push button start and some of the earlier key fob start vehicles, the ones where it's just a simple fob in the ignition, it actually uses a CAN bus signal. It communicates when you turn the key. The BCM sends a CAN bus signal to the ECM to tell it to start, as opposed to a simple 12 volts to a certain pin. So if we look right here in the tune, we see under the Communications tab that there's one called Ignition Start over CAN, and it is enabled. This is something we commonly see with the push button cars, the more later model stuff with the GPEC ECMs. So it kind of baffles me that this earlier car has it set up this way, but I mean, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and switch this to disabled, because we want the pin to tell the ECM when to start, and have it more like the traditional NAG1. So I'm going to disable that. Some of this other stuff you can disable while you're in here. This is cruise control over the CAN bus network. So that's a CAN module that actually tells it when to activate or deactivate cruise control. Not necessary. Wireless control module like the key fob, keyless entry. We can disable that. We're not using keyless entry on this car. Park and neutral over CAN. So if you have like an NAG1 transmission, something like that, we can disable that. We don't need this. This is transmission related. This is vehicle speed communicated over CAN. That's not really necessary. You can leave it or not. It doesn't matter. This is a 4-speed transmission. The big thing to look at is ignition start over CAN. So I'm going to save this file. All right, and we will write it again and see if that helps.
I pray it does.
Hope so.
This is like what, trial number 3 for us.
Yeah, but like you said, that's really why we test everything before it leaves. Make sure we have all the bugs worked out to the best of our abilities.
So Blake, I mean, this ain't your first time you did a skim delete on a Hemi ECM.
We've done so many.
I wanted to ask, so this particular function, right? Have you ever seen this, like needing to do this for the other ones that you've done?
I've seen it in the Eagle stuff. So yeah, we absolutely have to do this in, you know, the 2011 or really like 2009 and up. We really have to do this. So this is 28. It's pretty close to 2009 year when the Eagle breed came about. So it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
But really the Eagle stuff, like the 14s, 15s, 16 stuff that we've done, I've definitely had to disable ignition start over CAN.
Okay. And we mostly do, like for our service, we mostly do like 05 to 07, some 08. Right. And for some reason this one, we looked up the part number and it said like 08 to 10 charger, right? So yeah, so maybe it's tied to that for some reason.
Best I could say is it's probably just the hardware. The actual ECM itself is one that they used on everything. So like in the 2009, 2010 years, they still had the 6.1 Hemi. They didn't go to the 392, the 6.4 yet. So they still used these style ECMs. So it's very possible that there were some features to these later ECMs really made to where you could run it on a 6.1. They carried over the 6.1 years until they quit. Quite possible. All right, let's give it one more shot and see. And if that doesn't do it, there's one last trick.
This guy has got one last trick every single time.
You gotta have one last trick.
He never gives up. That's why I love this dude. All right.
So we really don't typically have this much problems. I mean, it's usually a quick flash, do the 2 writes. We go in and do a full standalone tune just to help our customers out. This is an anomaly, but I'm glad it happened in the video because it shows, hey, you're not out of the woods. If the first thing doesn't work, just keep going. You'll get it eventually.
Yep. And y'all are learning with us, man.
Learning with us. That's it.
Oh hell, the guru, Mr. Blake, the DIY Hemi himself.
So that was it. It was looking for an ignition start signal over the CAN bus network. Really was not expected. The older ones typically don't have that, but I'm glad we did look there. Check that out. I do know if you're looking to do a skim disable on the newer stuff, so the Eagle stuff that we mentioned earlier, make sure you check that table because it absolutely won't work. It's looking for the wrong type of start signal. The best I could say is it's probably because of redundancy starter. You know, back in the day, if you hit the starter twice, you would grind the starter into the flywheel that was already rotating. So it really kind of helps prevent that from happening. When the ECM controls the starter function, it knows the engine's already rotating, don't engage the starter again. It's really on the newer stuff. So if you do a skim delete on the new stuff, Eagle, same process that we just went through. You're gonna have to write the entire calibration, write it again for skim disable for retrofit, and make sure you turn off the ignition start over the CAN network. And that should do it for you. You should be good to go.
So once you wrote Skim disabled over retrofit the first time, right? You had to do the 2 different writes. Did you have to do it again after you just changed what you just changed, or you didn't have to?
I do it anyway.
Okay, so you always do the 2 writes.
I always do. Whenever I'm doing a tune on a vehicle that had Skim, I just always do it. I mean, it doesn't reactivate itself in the meantime. A lot of times you can get away with just doing a simple write and keep writing it over again. But I always do it. I mean, it's a lot better than, oh, that one time it doesn't work. You get it out to the car or you send it out to a customer and they're like, oh man, it doesn't work. Skim's still activated.
It's like an extra 10, 15 seconds, basically. Yeah.
That's basically
good insurance.
It's good insurance. So we got it nailed down. That was probably the most complicated Skim delete I've ever done. But I'm glad all the things that could have went wrong, because now you know how to fix it and solve it for yourself.
That's it. We appreciate you, Blake.
We got it.
Let's roll.
Thank you guys for watching the DIY Hemi Skim Disable tutorial. We really appreciate you guys sticking around and following us. So at this point, I think it's only fair we kind of get a little bit more into the details and explain all the things that are going on. So first thing is the system that we have here. We covered it a little bit, but I really wanted to be transparent. This system, the HP tuners, interface cable, the license, everything, you're looking at about $600 to invest to be able to do this. And it's just the tip of the iceberg, right? So you're in there, you're able to disable the Skim and get the vehicle cranked up and running, but there's so many more features that can be modified, edited, and just improved for better drivability of your Hemi swap. Well, that's where a professional tuner comes into play. So if you have one of your choice, or maybe you're a professional tuner yourself, you know, we definitely respect and we encourage a full standalone tune to be done to optimize your performance. Now, if you really don't want to invest $600, maybe the more economical way is just to send your ECM off to be tuned. And we do that in-house. So if you log online, you can see we have ECM standalone and baseline configuration available as an option. It's listed simply as ECM standalone calibration, and you can do that very easily. Send it over to us. We don't mind helping you guys out and getting you on the road and providing you with that ability to go cruising. Now, if you have a specific toner that you like, by all means, take it to them. We just really want to see you enjoy it to the fullest of its abilities and not have something that's halfway done, right? So keep that in mind. We really want to offer that out for you guys. That's really it as far as the hardware is concerned and the tunability issues, right? It's not rocket science, but it does take someone who knows what they're doing with experience. We really recommend that. One more thing that I would like to say at this point in time is thank you, really. Thank you for following us all these years. And if you don't mind, if you haven't liked, you haven't subscribed yet, ring that bell down below. Make sure you stay tuned. We have some really good stuff coming out in the future, and we hope to see you on the roads. Check you later.